In New York City, obviously, everywhere you look, you can see the works of so many artists, right? In galleries, museums, parks, on the street. Well, this new competition series is called The Exhibit, Finding the Next Great Artist. And it brings art to television in the form of a docu-competition series on MTV. Take a look.
The clock starts now.
Creative challenges will inspire them.
An exploration of gender. I think it's a really big statement.
To push their boundaries.
It's hard to think about.
In pursuit of the ultimate prize.
One artist will be awarded a career-defining
Wow.
exhibit.
Well, after many weeks of competing, a winner was selected who just happens to be based right here in New York City. Baseera, and we are also joined by award-winning journalist and host of The Exhibit, Dometi Pongo. So great to have both of you here.
Thanks for having us.
So you are the winner.
Yes.
How amazing is that?
Congratulations.
Thank God.
Seriously though, I mean, the competition was pretty tight there. So what was it like? What's it like to be the winner? And what'd you win, first of all?
None of your business. No, I won a cash prize, but more importantly, I won a solo exhibition at the Hirshhorn.
Now, that's what we're talking about here, right? What inspires your artwork?
I think about the thin line between surveillance and desire. And I use technology, and I use my eyes, and I use my passion. And I kind of just like look at textiles and materials, and I put it all together and create narratives.
And for how long have you been doing this?
I like that.
That would reveal my age.
So since you were a toddler.
Yeah,
Pretty much,
exactly.
pretty much.
Dometi, you know, this show is described as a docu-competition. Now, what is it? Take us behind that whole philosophy.
Yeah, Dan. So, I mean, MTV does a lot of reality shows, and I think that what sets this apart is the educational component. So Melissa Chu, who is the lead judge and also the director of the Hirshhorn Museum, will kind of give us prompts that informs what the artist will do for the commission each week. But they also give the context for where these prompts come from. Who are artists that the work that the competitors will make, what legacy does it fall into? And so it kind of gives this educational piece. There's nothing contrived on the show. You don't see any drinks thrown at anybody.
It's a different show.
Yeah, exactly. But it is an elevated experience, and so it's kind of a docu-series as much as it is a competition.
I did see some artwork being thrown, though. Looked like some people were frustrated at that time.
That was actually a visceral moment with my guy Jamal Barber. He, the commission was about surviving the pandemic and what we experienced, and he lost a close friend and a mentor by the name of George. And as you know, creating works that touch you in a certain space can be visceral. So that was just the organic reaction that he had. But nothing contrived. We're just chilling. You guys were working, and he had that moment, and I dapped him up, and we kind of supported one each other.
But just looking at all the work, everything is so different. The styles are different. The ideals are so different. How do you judge that when everyone is so uniquely their own artist?
Just the host. Just here so I don't get fired. No, but it's a great question. But I actually thought about this. You know, when you talk about like the greatest albums of all time, there are usually only a few albums on that list.
Yeah.
Right. So at some point, art isn't really subjective.
Yeah.
Where you rank different pieces may change.
Right.
But the greatest art impacts and resonates and evokes a certain response. And usually you'll find that the judges had all of the similar picks for the top three.
Thank you. That's such a compliment.
Absolutely.
It really is. How does it feel to, I guess it's a horrible way of phrasing this question, but how does it feel to be judged?
I mean, I was just saying that being in school subjects you to rejection. And you're always in crit circles. So I'm really active in my art community. In New York City, so I'm sort of used to the span of it all. But I've never done it in front of a camera. So that was really hard. That was intense. I feel like there was a moment where I was going to walk off the show.
Really? Why?
Pressure?
Well, actually, it was more like all 7 of us, we're so great at what we do, and we all had our own reason for being on the show. And then we all realized, we don't need this show. I'm just going to walk right off and make my own money and have my own solo show at the Hirshhorn. So in a way, we were just kind of fed up. I mean, because it's hard. It's hard to, like, bear yourself in front of a TV. But also just the deadlines were really hard. So I just had a mental breakdown for a second. That's it.
But do you all find inspiration in each other? I mean, encouragement also?
I don't think that they would have had us on the show. I mean, in a way, I don't think that we would have accepted if we were going to get asked off the show.
Yeah.
And so there was a immediate camaraderie, because when you're an artist, you're not competing against another artist. How could you? It's so subjective.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah,
You're kind of competing against yourself.
Yeah, you know,
Just competing against myself.
and for
Right way to
you
look at
to
it.
host a show like this, right? Because sometimes I feel like I go and I look at art and like I'm feeling something, I feel a certain way, but somebody else may feel something different. And I'm looking at something and I see one thing and something else. For you, did you know a lot about art and the inner workings of it all?
Not in an academic sense, right? So I know as much as most people. I was a part of different art collectives in Chicago, particularly collecting black art. I used to host open mic sets at historical art galleries in the city. One of them was Southside Community Arts Center, founded by Margaret Burroughs, who founded the DuSable Museum. But I didn't know the intricate. I didn't know art like these folks know art, and I was kind of intimidated about that. You know, I asked the producer Patty. I said, "Yo, I don't really know much about, like, you know, just what should I know? What should I be reading to get ready?" And she said, "No, you need to be that voice that's standing for the layperson. We don't want a jargon-filled conversation, and there's no wrong answer about how a piece or something makes you feel." But I did learn new ways to interpret works that maybe I didn't find aesthetically pleasing.
Right.
But the message and intent behind it was so interesting that I appreciated it in a new way. So I found a new appreciation for art, how to interpret art from hanging out with you guys.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, congratulations again.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see all the rest of the things that you do in the future.
Thank
The
you.
finale's on tonight on the
Yes.
Smithsonian Channel.
That is true.
Can't wait to check that.
9 p.m. on the Smithsonian Channel.
And your show is going to be when?
My show will be open to the public at the Hirshhorn May 3rd.
Okay.
I think till the end of July.
Good.
And I also have a public art project opening early June on the High Line.
Awesome. Well,
Very
congratulations.
nice.
New York's very
busy.
own.
Stay busy.
New York's very own.
We'll be there, all right? We want to be to the secret party, too, the big party for the unveiling.
Yes, yes.
Let's do that. I want to get invited to that too.